With this, I'll pass it to Alexander Isavnin, our...
Да, я переключусь на русский язык. Я не уверен, что...
Yes, I will be talking in English or in Russian. We will clarify whether it will be interpreted or not. So I'd like to talk about the following, what has been mentioned in our agenda. So on the one hand, the conference is taking place for the 13th time, and there will be a 14th, a 15th conference. But what will happen after that, nobody knows. That is on the one hand. And on the other hand, what is ENOG? Maybe we will be able to see the slide now. So what it is all about? This is the community of the representatives of different parties, community of the market specialists that are representing companies that are making the internet. So these questions are still remaining right here. So now I'd like to talk about what the future has in store for us. Do we have slides?
Давайте для начала дискуссии.
So just for a start of a discussion, I'd like to invite Dmitry Hamanuk on stage. He has made a wonderful presentation about ENOG conferences over the past 3 to 5 years in order to start the discussion. We have the second presentation there. Well, actually, it is considered that all those who are here with us in the audience can go to the mic and express their opinion and viewpoint about the matters we are discussing. Okay, fine. We are trying to look for the presentation, and meanwhile, I'd like to say that my presentation in Budapest provoked feedback from the audience, and it was written there. And if you haven't taken part in it, that's your thing. But we've announced some concepts, and some of the concepts, they are false, but from the others, you can draw some conclusions. And some are claiming that ENOG meeting is a small one, not many people attend them, but I have some facts and some ideas. Of course, everybody has his own ideas, but as for the facts, it was clear that as for different events, we have the representative audience for ENOG, and what has been presented as an alternative for ENOG, the regional meetings, they gather the audience that is 5 or 6 times smaller. These meetings took place in Almaty and in other cities, and we gathered about 300 people there, and all the ENOG gathered together about 3,000 people. So that is the information, and this is the fact that I wanted to mention. Okay, fine. Firefox is being updated. The internet was switched off, unfortunately. Okay, yes, I had it on my USB, and actually the presentation and the figures are not so important. Of course, everybody here understands that. We can just check. So, who is here for the first time at ENOG conference? Raise your hands. Okay, and the rest of you have been present at the previous meetings. So, those of you who have come for the second, third time, you are the honorary veterans of this conference, and that demonstrates the trend. We have the original strategy adopted, and it is isolated from all the other concepts and strategies, and we see here a certain gap. From the times, for example, of the Cold War, USSR collapse, we have to bridge this gap. And one of the options is to have more and more meetings in specific regions. Okay, have we found it on the notebook? Yes, we've replaced the notebook and then showed. And on this notebook, we have internet connection. That's good. I will not quote that. About 3,000 people, I've already named that. About 80% come from the country where this conference is hosted. This year we will have another conference in Minsk, and 12 countries have already hosted ENOG meetings. Sergey has sent the mailing lists, ENOG Discuss. Yesterday evening it was sent. And some ideas were mentioned there, and no use repeating some of them. If you are not subscribed to this mailing list, then it is a problem. The problem with the internet is still there, right? Yes, so you have to bring your own internet and your own laptop with you. Something is being said without a microphone, so interpreter cannot hear that. I think we'll do the following. Maybe you would like to express your viewpoint, your opinion. You can go to the mic and express yourself. Welcome, Bogdanov Yuri. Thank you for this explanation and for the statistics that has been shown on the presentation. We attended the previous conference, and it's great to see these representative meetings that gather together a large audience, some hundreds of people coming there. And it seems to me that for global meetings, we should have more of them, and we should have a smaller number of regional, local meetings. Dmitry, can you help us? So the idea is the following one. We need more global meetings. No, we should have a larger number of local regional meetings, because it will be easy. It will facilitate the logistics for the people. Which type of meetings should it be? Well, like the current format we are used to that. It's convenient format of meetings. Each time it's a new city, a new country, and at least several days. So the format, when we have the representatives from different communities, from different businesses, they gather together and they talk about themselves. It's not just a small get-together meeting like for several providers. I think several days, that's ideal format. Just like we have today and tomorrow. Okay, clear. So more events with the format like today's format. Diversity, what we call it, is diversity. And we have different meanings. In English and in Russian it is different. Well, something is happening with the presentation. Alexander, yes, I have this presentation. We found it, we've uploaded it. So do we have any other ideas and viewpoints? I'd like to reiterate the thought that I have already mentioned in Budapest about the following. We have to understand what is ENOG, because we are saying that ENOG is the Eurasian Operators Network. Yes, we've gathered together representatives. Well, but not everybody is here. So we have the interaction between different networks. So you should not engage the regions that are not forming part of ENOG. We need not to be too greedy. We need the interaction not between countries, but the interaction between networks. Yes, it is how I see it. And in the framework of this meeting, I'd like to ask a question from the audience, not so many people there. Can you please say how many of you have read the agenda before you came to the meeting? Well, wonderful. And do we have people who came here only because of this agenda? Can you raise your hands? Yes, it's a good percentage. It coincided with the number of people who are here at an ENOG meeting for the first time. This is the chart and the graph that demonstrates all our history. In blue, the overall number, and the orange is the number of people coming from the host country. And it is clearly seen that the Moscow meeting amounted to 500 people. And there are meetings that gather together even a smaller number of people. Yes, but the content, we can analyze this data. Of course, yeah, use the mic. Yes, the content is improving. That is a good thing about it. And that's an important figure on the overall number in ENOG region. And in this region, we have overall the number of 2,000 people. If we correlate between these two meetings, that is a fair number. Dmitry and Alexander, I would like to interrupt you. So probably the discussion has reached a very interesting point. Yes, just finish up your thought. Maybe you should pay more attention to the content. And when you are selecting reports, please use other maybe parameters and other factors. Yes, I understand what you mean.
I'd like to comment. We have a great number of newcomers, approximately 50 of the attendees raised hands. I'd like to comment. Why ENOG meetings, why they are not cooperative, why there's the program committee, why these ENOG meetings are a bit strange. Many of you, and the organization has been mentioned, RIPE NCC, it celebrated 25 years of university this year. And 4 years before, the non-formalized community emerged that was called RIPE. Dealing with the allocation of addresses, organizing of meetings for experience exchange, and the interaction of experts who deals with the internet networks. These meetings are still continuing. They are organized once in 2 years. The expert in the support of the internet, in the area of development, they meet up. Quite recently, we have the 74th meeting. People communicate with each other. They work out the policy. The problem is everything is happening in the Western Europe, and the Western Europe is located quite far from us by the cost of tickets, by visas, by the language barrier. 7 years ago, a cooperative event that was called RIPE NCC Regional Meeting was reorganized into the ENOG Regional Meeting, where the community can communicate, can define the agenda that is interesting in this area, in this place, at this time, that containing the presentation that were held at different meetings. For 6 years, the transformation has been going on. What to do? What shall we do? Please get back to the price. It's the slide devoted to the different suggestions. For 7 years, we has been supported by RIPE and NCC organization. It dealt with the meeting organizations, these two slides, the board of directors and the general manager. Different rumors have been circulating that RIPE and NCC decided not to support us anymore. We don't know. We still hope that you like what's happening during these conferences. We are trying to discuss what to do next, whether or not it's justifiable, whether or not it's interesting. Let's start with the conferences and then turn to the issue of self-governance and community. I can announce these facts. The budget that I was told, it's approximately 100,000 euros, but I'm not clear whether it relates to one meeting or to several ones. Let it be one meeting. It's a 7 euro per every LIR. Maybe plus minus as to the social things, or maybe the cost of the living in this city or that city. 400 euros. I'm not saying that 100 euros should be everybody charged. I had only one suggestion, either to select the cheaper places or to charge attendees for lunch. I think it's people, they may have a very small provider and of course, or either to get money from the local sponsors or establish the organization. If you have the separate ENOG organization, it may be the opportunity to get the money. In this situation, we will divorce with RIPE. All these ideas. Later on, I have data presentation. Yuri Kargapolov, the program committee member, Ukraine. I think that the monetary issues we can always discuss. We may define the situation as the following: the insufficiency of ideas. I'm read the goal of the conference to give to the members the opportunity to experience exchange and to discuss the important issues that are important for the local and international members. I think that we should be more specific as to the definition of the program areas for ENOG work. I think that the situation that is existing now around the process of collecting presentations is outdated. We have to grow older and faster. We have to define the mainstream, the first, the second, the third, the fourth. And within these mainstreams, to talk about the problems that this or that mainstream contains. It may be domain technology. There may be the aspects of the financial interrelations. We can see in Jeff's presentation how these things were interconnected, the issues with peering, but they should be consecutive. It means how the organization of work with presentations should be done. They are important for us, for the program committee members who consider, look through these presentations, and who live with this presentation for a certain time. For those who came to ENOG, this program that I read here, it looks like a mixture of unrelated things. Yuri's self-criticism is okay, but I think everything looks like a unrelated to each other mixture. And I think that my suggestion should be put down in writing. We have to structuralize the presentations. We have to define the mainstreams, the main flows. Then, secondly, from my point of view, today, when we have come to the situation when we have a great deal of ENOGs in the past, we have the result, and we have this result. We have to stop. We shouldn't increase the number of ENOGs meetings, but to pay huge attention to the quality issue of ENOGs. I don't want to talk about the fact whether or not ENOG will be connected with RIPCC. It's the issue of not today. There may be any model in the future, depending on the relationship between ENOG and RIPE NCC, and we discuss this issue in our program committee. Next conclusion: we shouldn't hasten up. We shouldn't increase the number of conducted conferences, but to concentrate on the fact so that to increase the quality. The next very important point: we are living in the global world, and in this global world, for us is important any as positive as well as negative aspect of experience. They exist from the New Zealand up to the California, around the globe, anti-clockwise. From my point of view, it should be the conference that will compulsory contain the presentations that we have from different regions. Let's speed up, Yuri. That's all for the time being. There we have Sergey, the president of the program committee. A brief comment. We haven't discussed these issues you've mentioned in the program committee. Very important comment. Moham? From Armenia. I'll speak on my behalf about our experience of ENOG. In principle, ENOG for Armenia has been a marked event. Many local partners helped ENOG, and they were part of this work to make a format so that to involve the local partners. ENOG is this format, no problems. If we have a good event that helps our industry, RIPE NCC and other organizations, I'm completely confident they will help. On the other hand, the issue of the involvement of regional initiatives and a discussion at the regional level. ENOG is not Eurasian, purely Eurasian meeting. We can look at the regional problems of the South Caucasian area, Middle East, and it can be done within ENOG. In the program committee, there will be greater involvement of the representatives of these countries, because in these countries, the industry issues may be completely different. I haven't seen the official announcement of RIPE NCC that they are not going to support. Axel, next speaker, what he will speak. It's not an official event. We are not waiting an official announcement from you.
Axel from the RIPE NCC. This is not an official announcement, but I heard a little while ago, and I might be lost in translation, and it's not your problem doing the translation. That's great. It's the various voices and stuff. I heard you say there were rumors that we wouldn't support ENOG anymore. That, of course, is not the case. We will continue to support ENOG. The change that we want to do is that we would, as now, support one ENOG meeting, RIPE NCC as usual. And the way this whole thing started is we came to Moscow with the RIPE NCC Regional Meeting many years ago. And the idea was that we would talk to our members in the region. That seems to work. But what would work better, we feel now, is that we would have a host of smaller national, local meetings with our members, lunches and the like, trainings that would reach out to more than the ENOG community as it is now. We do support ENOG, and what we see, this discussion about program format is wonderful. That is what we came originally to help you set up. So yes, there is support for ENOG. Formally, we'll continue with one big ENOG meeting, and we hope that if you continue with more ENOG meetings, that they will be a success, and we are happy to help and talk about organization and all those things.
Да, я продолжу по-русски.
Yes, I will continue in Russian. Respectively, well, we've gathered together because you are coming to our country to understand what is happening now, and that is the purpose of our meeting today. We have to understand where we should be moving to, and Axel has mentioned about some smaller local regional meetings where well-known famous representatives of international organization come, like Mr. Houston came today, but then we are focusing on the specific features, like in the Northern Caucasus, for example. And today we've gathered together in order to listen to different opinions and viewpoints. And we listened to some unofficial speeches and speeches by Axel. So do not be afraid to express your viewpoint, because only these people with red badges are giving their speeches. And Anton, for example, what is your opinion? Can you express it, please?
You mentioned, sir, I would ask you, you mentioned that it is possible to talk about the support in the future. So let's say that. Let's take it for the fact we have one ENOG meeting a year for sure, right? That's good. So RIPE doesn't kill ENOG meetings yet. It just happens slowly, right? So fine, maybe at some point we would not need ENOG meetings. Maybe we'll be so happy to have the regional meeting, you know? Right? So my question is that, is it possible to have one ENOG which is sponsored, one which is not sponsored? One which is sponsored and one which is not sponsored. Like, for example,
Okay.
RIPE doesn't pay for the second one if everybody can done the right.
We can have the one as now, the one sponsored one, and you can have 5 other ENOG meetings. It's great to have ENOG meetings.
Yeah. No, because it's a question about who owns the brand. Because I cannot just make a meeting and call it ENOG meeting, see? It's like not a copyright issue.
It's very tough question. Okay, let's discuss it later. Okay, it's tough question. Anton.
Yes. So I'd like to turn the mic to another side, actually, because you are seeing only the backs of people who are speaking. So I'd like to discuss what is proposed for NCC and as an alternative. So you name local, regional meetings, but if we analyze that, we can have a more profound analysis, and then it turns out that half of the content is NCC. I would like to interrupt Anton. We do not know what is planned and what is proposed. Well, historically it was like that. We do not know what it is proposed. Let's give the floor to the next person. Yes, because you are making some guesses, I'd like to interrupt you, and please stop your speech. But yes, based on the previous experience, no, we are talking about the future. Anton, please give the floor to another speaker. I'd like to apologize. I'm not a member of program committee, but I have an experience of hosting conferences in some other areas and for other topics. So I've taken part for 5 times in ENOG meetings, irrespective of the changes that program committee can introduce, and maybe the attitude will be changed as for the reports and the speeches, and will we involve some other sponsors. If you introduce a paid membership for ENOG, it will not limit an access drastically, and it will not drastically change the perception of this event, but it will resolve this material problem that organizers are facing right now. So if we introduce the paid basis, so the idea for Russian public is the following. So the paid entrance does not limit anyone, because for the majority of those who are present here, if we have the voting, for example, of the audience, if you announce the paid entrance for this event, everybody will be able, almost everybody will be able to pay for that. Well, it's not exactly like this, but the basic problem, you would not believe us, but at the previous meeting in Budapest, we had a good discussion where we mentioned that for the participants of the RIPE meetings, the main problem is not the cost of their membership fee, but the necessity to negotiate and coordinate their participation in different countries. For example, for half of the participants, they had to go to their CEOs and to negotiate their traveling expenses. And that's why perhaps at each of ENOG meetings, we have been hosting them in some regions that are not very well developed, but we have the largest share and the largest number of local speakers. Phil? Yes, I wanted to continue that idea. Anton, some positive things, because we are working at the positive side of things, and we are focusing on some positive things. But you have to understand certain things. It's strange for me. Member lunches? No, we are not focusing on that. I will have to take the microphone away from you if you continue that. We are not discussing private emails. Please stop your speech, or we will take the microphone away from you. Yes, I'm quite insistent. Yes, I was asked to give my experience, and I'm like a maniac, and I will confirm that I'm actually like this. I've been attending RIPE meetings since 2004, and I was in different roles, local, regional meetings that turned into ENOG meetings later, but frankly speaking, I will say some bad things maybe. You should understand that at ENOG meetings, at other conferences dedicated to specific topics like networks, their reports are delivered, but I do not see the efficient results of it. Well, the Russian market, if we have a look at it through a microscope, we will see certain things. I would not like to offend some representatives from CIS countries, but if we analyze the situation, for example, as for St. Petersburg and the representatives here, we can gather together at a pub and discuss those matters, and it all goes down to that results. And frankly speaking, I understand RIPE and NCC, and it's great to see all of you. And I even put on weight after those RIPE meetings. So I got acquainted with you, and I put on weight. And you are discussing the possibility of having 2 or 3 meetings a year. But what is the efficiency? Does it lead to the increase of the efficiency? And we have many people coming from Ukraine to attend RIPE meetings, and the situation is not very good, and everybody is dealing with some other problems, trying to resolve other problems, myself, for example, with Rospotrebnadzor and other agencies. Thank you. That's a good opinion as well. Maxim, we are not discussing member lunches and the viewpoint of Anton. So I'd like to give you a broader context and the information, what is happening actually. I'd like to reiterate, I'm Maxim from RIPE NCC. We will support one big ENOG event, and it's time ENOG grows up. So we should understand that ENOG is a big event and the most supported event from RIPE NCC. So we give this event the largest sponsorship. We allocate resources, not only financial ones, but also the personnel, the time we spend on organizing this event. And we think that this is a good, big platform, and one event, one great annual event will give us an impetus to unite all the community, and it will be supported by different representatives. The organizational financial support will be given to such an event, and now we have the conditions that make it rather difficult for the event to grow and to develop. So another important aspect is that when we host 2 events a year, we have smaller resources and smaller possibilities to organize some smaller local regional events, because they do not have the groundwork, they do not have the conditions to host some international conferences, but they have the need for some localized events. We have to meet these needs, to customize it, and it will not be right to focus the attention only on our needs. And another important feature about the meetings, RIPE meetings, and the participation in ENOG, we have to understand that on the part of Ukraine, for example, largest number is taking part in RIPE NCC meetings, and that's an understandable situation, and we've conducted a kind of opinion poll about it and about the attendance to Armenian ENOG meeting, and not everybody will be able to say, for example, today that you will be attending the ENOG meeting in Minsk in Belarus. Can you raise your hands who is going to attend it? So that is a kind of a context I would like to clarify. And as for the financial part, that is not the main reason. There is a number of reasons why we should do that. ENOG should grow older, should grow up, and one big annual event will help us to improve this situation. Thank you very much for your comment. That's great, because I have a 1.5 questions. I'd like to abuse my power as a moderator. So, well, when will the Great RIPE meeting will come to Russia? Russia has never filed an application to host it. And as for Ukraine, yes, with Ukraine we discussed the possibility of having this meeting in Ukraine, but then we came to a deadlock because they didn't have their facilities to host such an event. Sergey or Dmitry, who is next? Thank you. Maxim, I have a simple question. So if RIPE NCC cuts down the support and will support only one large meeting a year, where will it be? Well, we have to complete this one, to finish it up, and then to host the event in Minsk. Well, we will have a certain joint vision, but it will happen later on. It will be transparent, of course. But you have to understand that we need, the market needs in ENOG meetings, because now it turns out that there are some difficulties in market needs. So you promised a large, big ENOG event that will be organized for 4 days, for example, the current ENOG. Because now we have 2 days, and then, yes, Yuri mentioned before me that you are measuring quality by quantity, because you are confusing these two things. It's more does not mean that it will be taking place for 2 weeks. We will take efforts to organize. It will be an expensive event then. Allow me to add how I envision a large, big ENOG event. Today, we have the gathering of the professional community, mostly the internet providers, and there are some content specialists and some other representatives. I do not see here in our get-together people from representing mobile operators, those who are defining the agenda of the day. I do not see here other operators. I do not see the operators who will be determining and defining the agenda, but they determine the state and the situation in the industry for years to come. So as I see it, a great large ENOG meeting will involve a larger number of people and representatives, but we should have a high quality of material. Not to have this kinds of give us like 50 reports or 50 speeches, and then we should be selecting from them, and to create a certain mixture of these reports, because not all the audience understands the interconnection between those topics and those reports. So I suggest the following: to have a certain structure of the stakeholders, and something which will be interesting for large operators, will be interesting for large actors and players on the market. That will mean a large ENOG meeting. We do not have much time, unfortunately. Thank you very much for your opinion.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'm from Prom Telecom, small provider. My understanding, the committee asks what we want. What will be interesting for providers? For me, for a provider, will be interesting to know what are the prospects for development in the internet, whether or not opto fiber networks will die, or we have to sell our clients to somebody and go out of the market, leave the market. We should understand how to earn money, not only switching clients, but to come up to the content and sales models, so that small operators, carriage operators, telecom operators can incorporate. We can, from my point of view, we may be a bit more brief to show what's available in technical solutions. It will be very interesting, and maybe something close to business models, to money, to show how small amount of money can be collected, so that rural internet, so that small providers can collect these funds and invest into their sectoral development. What's your opinion? Whether or not this program is a kind of a mixture? From the morning I've been present here. In the beginning, it was a very detailed presentation. The sense of this presentation was just the beige. This was presented in the corner, CSK. The model B2B, for whom these routers solutions can be applicable. For small operators, it's not very interesting. maybe middle level routers. The equipment may have been presented a bit more detailed. Then the general topics were discussed and the interest died out. And the last point, when the program committee, then the program committee here starts criticizing each other. It should have done not here, but outside of the room. For everybody, it would be very useful. We are talking about their connection of the networks. It's very important to have the integrity in the community, to have more information about participants. Maybe the flow of personnel, the business part should be present more intensively here. Good luck to everybody. In fact, I'd like to give the floor. Here we have Dmitry Burkov standing at the end. And his wage says that he is a creator of the ENOG, but he don't want to talk about future. Maybe positive things, some positive things to say. I would like to talk about positive things. Guys, so we have been discussing here some problems for development. I'm from event management company. I'd like to say the fact that more and more people come, and it's the indicator of success. I can't say that our meeting, our event is unsuccessful. I think it's successful, and we should do something to make this more successful. It's not a failure event. ENOG is a very important, successful event. The success is not restricted by the fact that we are talking about the things that are stipulated in the agenda. The much success may be there where people network outside of the room during the coffee break, when they communicate informally, and people do come here, and they participate again and again. It speaks about success. Allow me to finalize at this positive point. Despite the fact that we haven't made any conclusion, but we made ourselves heard, maybe somebody will write us a letter. Any feedback is very important for us. Any suggestions are important. Even within the program committee, tough discussions are taking place. We ask you to express your opinion. Maybe from online, some companies, they're interested in business part of our content. I think it's a successful conference. Our today discussion, we try to devote to the fact how to make this more successful. Maybe it's not complete success, but next time we will be successful. We will be waiting for your feedback